Thank you, and I'm happy to welcome you all along with Mr. Soumitra Sen.
I was basically grew up in Bhopal. My father used to be working in Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, those temples of modern India that Nehru built. And I grew up there, studied in a school out there, and called Campion School. So somehow, kind of I trudged to BITS Pilani. It was another long story about how I got there, because my marks, what I got after I passed out, was not definitely not good enough to get a direct entry. So I went and went with to try and do my MSc honors in biosciences, and then later there is a dual degree scheme in BITS Pilani where I got my B Farm honors. Passed out in 1985, and wasn't a very good technocrat or a scientist to write home about. So basically I just joined marketing. I knew I wanted to join marketing without an MBA. So started my journey with a small company, as I was telling Ashish some time back, with a company called Dennis Chem Lab, which was into IV fluids. And then and it was easy to get jobs those days. It was not like today where young people are really struggling and there is COVID and stuff like that. So I got to work as a product management team in Torrent first. And then there was a single company called Cadila. So there I would join for some time and went on to work for a company called Pletico Pharmaceuticals, which was in Indore. And obviously from there moved to Ahmedabad and to a company called Helios Pharmaceuticals, which still exists even today. It was opened by 13 brothers who sold BDs for a living, the BDs that you get. So they opened a company called Helios Pharmaceuticals. There's a very wonderful place in Ahmedabad called Gulbai Tekra, where they have this small little office and they call it Helios Pharmaceuticals. And I was traveling the length and breadth of the country, meeting medical representatives, making visual aids, literatures, copying from here, there. Those days the industry was well known. The government was supporting, all the Indian companies to launch new molecules, etc. And as luck would have it, I got an opportunity because I used to get my visual aid designed by an art director in Bombay. And he used to be working in an advertising agency called Creative Unit. And he happened to tell me that, look, I don't think you are made for this industry. I think you are made for advertising. I said, who would give me a job in advertising? He says, come and meet my managing director. And there was this person by the name of Vishwanath Iyer. So in one of my travels to Bombay, I happened to meet him outside. He came to meet me, very nice of him, in a hotel called Hotel Citizen near Juhu Beach. I don't know whether that hotel still exists, but it was there when the last time I saw it 3 years back. It's called Hotel Citizen. We took a walk and he said, why don't you come and join? And so we took a decision to come down to Bombay in 91, 92, and my life started in advertising. So that's how I kind of left behind pharmaceuticals, where I was like, a square peg on a round hole kind of scenario, and continued my journey in advertising, one after the other. Pretty interesting times in advertising. 1992 to 2002-3 was a very, very exciting. There were new products, there were new brands which were being launched. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao, they had unleashed the opening of the country, and our salaries started spiking like crazy, and we started bringing in products which we thought we would never bring. Part of the first mosquito repellent called Goodnight. And then there was this, working in an agency which launched the first washing machine and took part in all the battles of with consumer durables, specifically television. Akai was a company, and we fought with them, and we sold television for 1 rupee, just 1 rupee. And those were the kind of things that we used to take, bring your old TV and take your new TV home. And just bring 1 rupee coin with you, and you'll get a new TV. So those were the battle royale we launched. And under Videocon, very few people know that Mr. Dhoot had so many other brands. He had stuff like he had Toshiba, he had Kenwood, and then he had Kenstar, which he created, so that people thought that it was a multinational brand of kitchenware. And so that was exciting. And then joining Madison DMB&B, now known as Madison World, with Sam Balsara, and working for the Godrej, where I became client services director, working for the Godrej account, walking and quaking in my shoes whenever I had to go and meet Mrs. Godrej, because she had a temper. And I used to be mostly with Sam, lugging around all the layouts with him, and we never knew what the result of meeting would be. And the soap that we used to kind of work for was Synthol, and then from there to Euro RSCG, from Euro RSCG to contract, and in IBM also, it's Kiran and me were there together. Kiran was one of those heroes of the agency. Whenever you made a film, you used to run after Kiran. Kiran, we have to make this film. We got very less time. And Kiran would be like, okay, let me just get all the directors for you. And we will talk about what kind of script do you have? And we used to also get the creatives with us. So Kiran used to be the epicenter around which we used to run around, all of us, when we had to make films. And then from 2005 onwards, I've been working. It is not BBTO. I don't know from where it came. It was DDB. First, it was Mudra, and then it was DDB. So it was called the Mudra DDB Group, and I was president there, and got into consumer healthcare and development communication. And 2015, we kind of all thought of us. It was a kind of a coup. That during those days in 2015, we all thought that we'll do our own thing. And we kind of moved out, a few of us, and we started Storytellers. So it's 5 years now, this journey. So that's in a nutshell. Did I finish everything in 5 minutes?
It's actually 10 minutes, and it is okay. Yeah, but that was required, because people need to know your background, what you did. And okay, so it is Soumitra, it is said that every person has a story about everything in his head. So you can only replace an old story with a new story. And you have launched so many new categories like mosquito repellent, washing machine, luxury luggage. So can you share some interesting anecdotes? Like, I know, because your first agency, Great Unit, is like Nari Hira, is a king of publications, like Man Behind, Filmfare, Stardust, and you have worked with Shobha De. So you have some anecdotes.
I've never worked with Shobha De. Shobha De would give me one slap, because Shobha De used to be one of that prima donna in the agency who everybody wanted to work with. I was a little kid on the blocks, just starting off. And she would not entertain me. I'm 100% sure. I was a kid, and I was trying to understand the way the whole thing worked. It was a very different scenario, in the sense it was, there were electronic typewriters on which we used to type, and to get the time of the secretary to get your slides typed was one battle. And it was a completely different world. I mean, we didn't have any computers, and it was and I remember Mohan walking in and talking to our MD, managing director, with this small little flying saucer that we used to hear about, a flying saucer with a blue tablet inside it. And we used to ask, I mean, we never knew what was happening, because we were more interested in the big accounts, though it was a small agency. But we used to all work for a company called Tomco, Tata Oil Mills Company Limited, which had, which was also marketing soaps, and those days was competing against, Unilever, Hindustan Lever. And I was a part of the team which was doing advertising for OK. There was a lot of young people in this meeting. They wouldn't know about this brand called OK, which was a serious threat to Lifebuoy. And there was a huge team on OK, and I was one of the account executives. But I know what was happening on the back end. We used to talk about it. They were whispering about this thing called Good Night. And I had a friend called Diljit, who is incidentally also from Thane. His father was a art person in creative unit. And Diljit also joined as a trainee art person. Those days, we used to have spray painting and all those things. Everything was done, drawn. There was nothing to, cut paste as far as computers are concerned. So we had great artists who were visualizers and all these people who used to work in the place. And there used to be running feuds with between father and son in the agency. Father used to always tell the son, you don't know how to work, and etc. And Diljit used to always complain in my ride back home on the train, saying that ghar mein bhi pitaji, office mein bhi pitaji. And we were thinking of a name. All of us were told to think of names of the brand, and we were writing names, and nothing was coming close to, nobody liked it. And one day Diljit's father came to the office, and he had a name which everyone liked in the first go, and it was called Good Night. NIGHT, and Shobha wrote K. So don't call it NI, call it K. And then everything is history. Meethe Sapno Ke Good Night Dost became the byline, and then it went on. It kept on, getting market shares, and it was bought over by the Godreges. And when Creative Unit closed down, Vishwanath Iyer, who was the managing director of Creative Unit, went and joined Godrej. He started his own agency only for Good Night. So that was one story. Then, of course, I spoke about a lot of stories on. So on Samsonite, there is a very interesting one that Mukesh Gupta, who was the head of IBNW, he came in and said, there is this brand called Samsonite. I said, okay. Those days we were not very aware of the brand. We said, maybe. From where? So he said, what? These are from, this is from America. It's an American brand. And we have to pitch. Okay. And I was so busy with all this, color television, Bazooka. We had one TV ad on Bazooka. We had one Toshiba ad where lavender mask, new kind of color TV. So we wanted this girl to learn horse riding, and I was standing every day. The model is learning horse riding, and I'm standing every day in Mahalakshmi to see if she can ride a horse. And the idea that we had is that she had to ride the horse without a saddle. And we were like, and her boyfriend used to stand every day, and I was there, and we were paying her 50 rupees every day so that she could learn horse riding. And that was the time when Mukesh came and said, you know what, we're launching this. You have to go and meet this client. So I went, and there was this Tainwalas who were marketing these, these wet tissues called Fresh Ones. I don't know whether they're still available. And I knocked on his door, and he called me in, and I had a small little window in which I used to begin by saying, my name is Soumitra Sen, and I am from BITS Pilani, and I've done BITS Pilani. Immediately, when I said BITS Pilani, I said, yes. Which batch? I said 1979. So I remember, I don't know what Tainwala said. He said about Ramesh Tainwala was his name. Looked as old as me. He said, I'm also from BITS, and it won tea, coffee, biscuits, conversation. Till date, the advertising industry does not know why Samsonite went to IBNW. And the day we launched Samsonite, now that's another twist in the story. That same day, VIP launched lookalikes. That same day, VIP launched lookalikes, and all hell broke loose. And we wanted, anyway, we never used to go home when we used to work in IBNW. We used to work up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Kiran, you are the person who can tell us more about that. And take the last train home and that kind of scenario. And with Samsonite and VIP getting into a head-on tussle, obviously, Mr. Tainwala went on to become the global head of Samsonite, and I used to follow him. And he went and he was posted in America, and then I think he was in Hong Kong last, and then something happened, some crisis happened with some kind of filing or something, some finance problem, so he quit. So that was another one, and of course I told about Synthol and Mrs. Godrej and Mr. Godrej. Mrs. Godrej, obviously, she's no more, but she was one character. And the way So that was a pretty interesting assignment. And Euro RSCG was a breakaway agency from contract. And there was huge stress when I got a job with Euro RSCG, because Philips was the account, consumer durable, and I think maybe Ishan had seen my consumer durable credentials. And there was a seesaw battle between contract and Euro RSCG about who will get Philips, because Ishan had walked out of contract with Philips. And actually, and Euro RSCG was formed because of Philips. I mean, in one day, I mean, there was some 50 people walked out of contract and created. Those were the days. I don't know what, I mean, advertising was one of the, at top of the pyramid. Everybody wanted to join. There was good fun happening in all over the place. And then 2005 onwards, I joined Mudra Communications. Contract was under Colvin. Colvin went on to head JWT. He was kicked upstairs. And all of us who were very, very strongly aligned with Colvin, we all went our own ways because he went to JWT. And so I found myself in DDB Remedy, head of the healthcare communications division for 10 years, 2015. Did loads of OTC communication, huge amount of OTC communication and consumer healthcare communication. And that was exciting, but I was getting a little useless in advertising because I was sitting and most of my team was doing a lot of work. And I used to think, why do I go to office every day in the morning? And they came one day and they said that, okay, let us just, start something on our own. And that's how we started Storytellers. And even now I'm quite useless here. So
yeah.
And it goes on.
So anyway, that uselessness, your people, they convert into usefulness. So,
hopefully.
Yeah, don't worry. So Soumitra, you always say that, you are rediscovering the lost art of storytelling. So elaborate. What is that? What are you doing? You are the person, or you are the company, you are working from home, not because of COVID, but because of choice, since long before COVID. And what is that you are doing that to rediscover the lost art of storytelling?
So I'm kind of a little despotic in my behavior. I've always been like that. I was never a clock watcher myself. I hated people who used to watch the clock, and this used to happen even in IBNW, Kiran. You knew how it was: 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning, coming back home, and we were expected to be in the office at 9:30. And if you were there at 9:45, and your half day used to go, and all those kind of stuff used to happen. So I was always like that. I was a little bit, cool about discipline. In fact, the other day also, I was having a battle with my friends saying that I'm not a disciplinarian. I love when people do their own things. So, and I was also kind of perceiving at the back end that advertising, creativity in advertising had to undergo a sea change. There was a kind of a breathlessness that was, people don't talk about it so much, but we knew that with WPP and Omnicom and Publicis, it was not what advertising should be. Advertising is all about smallness. It's about design sense. It's about madness. It's about personalities. It's not about a huge conglomerate which works like a bank. Martin Sorrell bought that kind of I'm sorry to say in this public forum, but I was kind of feeling that this was not going the right way. Omnicom is $30 billion empire. And those small little brands inside were losing its kind of, and what we would see is that the talent was getting drained. We were not getting the kind of people. By 2010, we could feel that we were not getting the kind of people that advertising was always getting before this. They were all moving into different directions. And one place where they were all moving in was technology. Deloitte, Accenture, TCS. You go there and you find all the intelligent people. They're coming out of college and they're moving in all these places. The startups, Bengaluru. You go all these. The redbus.in. One of my people from Bits Pilani started redbus.in. So there were a lot of these small little startups were coming out. So the brain was going there, that side. That was one thing. And we were really operating like a bank. There were formats to fill, and there were targets to be achieved. All things that we never thought existed. Say in IBM, we never knew. In contract, nobody ever asked me in 2000 or 2005, look, you have to achieve a target. And the moment you have to achieve a target, then you are not achieving your client's target. Then you are achieving your own target. Somebody might say that you are achieving the client's target by achieving your target, but that is, in my mind, it doesn't work at all. And the interesting thing that I kind of, and we were looking at the other places, that we used to come in shots. We were supposed to come in shots in advertising agencies. And we were seeing our people who were working in Google, who were working Facebook and Microsoft doing that. And in fact, not even going to their own offices and doing their work and not even reaching to their own. I saw my own brother-in-law who was pretty big and when I went to meet him in New Jersey, the first time when I met him, he used to go to office, leave home at 6 a.m. in the morning because he had to be in office in 2005, 2006. By 2009, he had created an office of his own in New Jersey, saying that Accenture has closed 400 offices all across America. And if you have to do anything, you got to go for the meetings. So 2015, because it was our product, because Storytellers is us, we said that we will work from home. So as I kind of sit and talk to all of you today, we have one person who works out of Andheri, one person who works out of Thane, one person who works out of Surat, one person who works out of Rishikesh, one person who works out of Kota, one person who works out of Muscat, one person who works out of Bhopal, one person who works out of Bhubaneswar, another person was of Thane, and 3 or 4 people who work out of Gurugram. And we're all connected 2015. And from 2015 onwards, we have been working for our clients. We have a place in Gurugram when our clients say, do you have an office? Yes, we have an office. We do have an office. And it is like a place where we say, come and have a chat with us. And when they come, they don't want to go because it's like we have a nice little drawing room. We have a wonderful place where there's a library where you can sit and look at books. And there's a small place that we have created which during the COVID times, we have opened that place. We call it home, work away from home. If you're getting stuck somewhere and you don't want to work from home, come to us. We'll give you a nice little place, cozy corner to work. You can go make your own tea, own coffee, sit there for 2-3 hours, enjoy, talk to us, tell us about your life. We would like to know. And, we have some poor people, not poor exactly, but, our drivers, people who take care of the office, this, that, they are running that place. We've told them to run the place. They sell wonderful looking masks. There's a designer mask. If you want, I can sell them for $30 each. And that's how we run Storytellers. So for us, COVID was hardly any change. And to tell you, we have won businesses during the last 7-8 months, one after the other. Not business projects. We don't want to call them businesses. We call them projects. And we have fought against big agencies. We have given presentations on like this on platforms like Zoom, GoToMeeting, and Microsoft Teams, etc. We are working and onboarding these clients through that. So it's a day in the office for us. We don't mind working like this. So it has been a kind of hardly a change for us. Though the world has gone through a sea change, I can see. And we tell everybody, people who are getting a little depressed working from home, say that think of it as work from anywhere. You can go and work from the neighborhood park. You can go to your clubhouse and sit there by the pool and work. You can go to Starbucks. Obviously now it is COVID times. Now you can't go anywhere. But there are so many different places. You can go to Maldives and work for. We have a nice, great visualizer who is a member of a bike gang. And he moves on, goes to Leh, Ladakh, those kind of places. But he is so important for us that he can open his laptop or computer anywhere and create his designs and send us, which we send to the clients. And the clients say, wow. So yeah, that's what we're doing in Storytellers.
Yeah, so in advertising, okay, when we create advertise or conceptualization, anyone who works in advertising, there is a story behind it. Whatever we do is absolutely storytelling. So when you're building a brand, Okay, give us one a small example of anything where story comes in and changes the perspective.
So you know what? It was very simple earlier. You know, even as early as recent as 2013, 14, 15, 16, the TVC ruled the roost. The television commercial, 30 second, and all of we know all about the great minds of advertising who made a living. And even today, I see quite a lot of television commercials being made. Clients coming and saying that, look, first let us do the television commercial, and then let us think of but what we were also experiencing, and for which we had no visibility, it was just moving on with the flow, if I had to say something like that. The world was changing, so if you read a book by Thomas Friedman about Thank You for Being Late, he talks about a certain particular time in our life, 2006, 2007, 2008. He says small changes were happening. See, when history comes and they start changing, we are a part of it, and we never know the kind of changes that were happening. So if I were to just say the changes that were happening in 2006, 2007, 2008, you would just raise your eyebrows. The first thing that happened in 2006 was Facebook started. That was one thing that happened quietly in a campus out of the US of A. So that Facebook made a small entry into our lives. And a little bit, if you go ahead, Apple came up with its phones, which is the precursor to all these phones. The story goes that, our man, when he made the first phone, Steve Jobs, he had gone to watch a soccer game, a high school soccer game, and he met a guy by the name of John Doerr, who was a venture capitalist and had actually invested in Netscape, Amazon, Google. His son was also playing soccer. And when he and both of them were cheering for their sons, and Steve Jobs happened to take that phone, that small little phone with small little squiggles everywhere, and he said, look, this is the thing that I'm trying to launch. And John Doerr's eyes popped out. So, is this what it is? Yes, he said. The finger is everything. You have to just tap, and you'll be moving everywhere, and it will create a world as you move. And that iPhone created iTunes. It revolutionized the music industry. You could download, you could have Ghana, you could have YouTube Music, you could have Google Music. That was the precursor. A small little phone on a high school soccer game, 2007. And it changed our life, the way you use smartphone. Then it was, Android. Google launched Android in 2007. See, it is not there in our mind. Two friends from Rhodes School of Design launched a company called Airbnb, Air Bed and Breakfast. And the first guest they had was an Indian student, again from Rhodes School of Design, called Amol. So these three people, now Airbnb today is a $50 billion company. I don't know what is happening to those three guys on COVID. Are people traveling or whatever? But Airbnb was also, kind of started during that time. And if I were to say Twitter started, Kindle was launched in 2007. And then blockchain, which I can't talk much about, I don't know much about, and the whole coin, the Bitcoin industry, with a group of scientists going by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, who started this whole thing. So imagine between 2006, 2007, 2000, and the computation power of computers increased drastically. So the world was slowly changing in 2006, 2007, 2008, and by 2015, we could see the first gust of wind that was coming to us. It was telling us in our ears, change, 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 change. But Soumitra Sen was by then a 52, 53-year-old man. He was comfortable in what he was doing. He wanted to continue doing that same stuff that he was doing. Thankfully, with all my people all around and the kind of conversations and soul-searching addas that we call in Bengali, we knew that the time has changed. Content was king and conversations were queen. They were the two most important things. Now you cannot just give disturbing advertising and disturb somebody's life. You had to quietly step into people's lives, show them content, and hope against hope that they will converse. And once they converse, they will take the conversation forward. So that was a big change. Accepting that was a big change. And when this started happening, we started feeling that now, from being smart, from being ideas led, from doing something which will really impress you in 30 seconds and you go move out of the place of the radar and you fight clutter, you could now go back to that old art of storytelling. And you could start building on your stories, because mankind never actually, we are different. Homo sapiens, we're different from all other species in this world because of the ability that we have for the last 100,000 years of telling stories to each other. So we said, now it is the time to go in for stories. So we were saying that now we were not in 30 seconds. We might have to make films which are 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 1 minute, 10 minutes. So how do we do those? Capabilities went there. I had trained from 1992 onwards to make 30-second, 40-second commercials. My people who were all around, our people who were all around us, who were working with us, they were also the same kind to make those changes. Young people who were coming out of colleges, they knew about it. They knew SEO, SEM, they knew WordPress, they knew how to make a website on their own, how to start conversing. I don't know even today, WordPress, etc. But the thing is that it has changed. We all can see how life has changed. We're all today here on this platform called Zoom and talking to each other and feeling, so close to each other and conversing. So this is how we moved into storytellers, and we had an open mind. It's easy, for a WPP or an Omnicom or a publicist to make those changes. It's going to take a hell of a lot of time. The clients get very impatient now. They get very, very impatient. They don't understand how they are going to get the right. So they get for a digital agency, they go for a branded agency, they go for an event agency, they go for digital PR, and then they scratch their head and thinking, now what will happen next? Who will do what for me?
So, Soumitra, today there is one interesting thing. What I'm going to ask is about storage is, you have some process called as the 7 baskets. Then there are three C's, and you have developed a 5-stage story testing formula. Okay, so I'm going to ask you about that, but at the very end of this session. But before that, I would like to ask Ashishda. Ashishda, do you have any question for Soumitra?
I have many, in fact, but the time doesn't permit.
Yeah.
Those were beautiful, pristine stories, Soumitra, and very, very fresh, in fact. You know what? I feel we are very common in 2 ways. I mean, other than being a Bengali, is I have a bath with Synthol today, and I have done it today itself. That is one, right? And I've been doing it for the last, I think, 40 years. Okay, 40 years. And secondly, when you talk about Pletico, that was my first company to work with. But back to that Synthol, and when you talk about Tomco, it reminds me about that Moti Sabun, that big, and which used to go to the flush of the toilet many of the times, and I lost it because of the size of a cricket ball. Right. Now, Synthol, you know why it fascinated? Because of that ad, when Vinod Khanna came back from Bhagwan Rajneesh's ashram, and that horse, and he's actually, on that horse, and the horse is galloping forward. And then he comes down, he said, "Are you Synthol? Do you?" Unforgettable. He said, "I'm really going to use that soap," and I use it now. Now, back to Kiran's context, where you said that story is etched in my mind for a very long time, and nobody could drive me in getting into a new soap, in fact, none. Now, the question is, that is how a consumer behaves. The consumer might be a doctor, a consumer might be a person like me who buys a soap or gives training. And I feel that it's an emotional investment where I buy something, right? Now, as a storyteller, as a person who had an iconic career in advertising, how do you actually make a plan of overriding my old story and attracting me towards a new story and making me buy? What is the magic of storytelling that you do?
See, that's a very nice, very important question. Like, how do you change consumer behavior? And most of the time we go and say acquire a new customer rather than get a customer who is already confirmed buyer of some other brand. So that is a problem when you don't have any innovation to kind of sell. That is number one. Number two, obviously now we also work on various areas. So one of the things that we kind of tell our clients is that we are behavior change specialists. We work in an area called behavior change communication. Now, there is a wonderful book also written on this called Nudge. You should kind of pick it up. So you don't make a change immediately. You take a lot of steps to slowly show the person the other alternative. So the nudges work more than forceful work. And then there are other things in behavior change communication, like positive deviance, where you show what the other person is enjoying with the brand, and therefore subliminally you try and kind of attack the other consumer, saying that look what you're missing. So scientifically these are the stuff that people do, but what we are seeing, what we have seen over the last, while Synthol is a very oldish brand and everything, and it's still on, and we should have come and interviewed you those days, and maybe gotten great insights. There is this red soap that they sell, and it's like people used to call up. I mean, we couldn't discontinue that because Sam was after the Godrejas to discontinue that. It was a very small quantity used to sell. But the whole thing today is that, it's a game of innovation. What is, what we are seeing today, and it is, I don't know, and the conversation will go somewhere else, that, earlier companies used to survive for 100 years. There is this whole book by Simon Sinek, who's an advertising guy like us from Ogilvy, who has written a book called Infinite Game. And we should all read this. And in this, he says that earlier companies used to survive for 100 years. Now that has come down to 15 years. Okay. The game, unfortunately, has shifted into the bank accounts of the shareholders. Earlier, the focus was consumers. Now, all of us are actually looking at what the shareholder is saying. And as a result, companies are finding it difficult, brands are finding it difficult to survive.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there's a huge, kind of a manthan going on, if I have to use a word, inside our world, which is full of uncertainty. And we call it the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, confusing, and maybe A is for aggression. So this is like a VUCA world. We don't know what to do. What is true today is false tomorrow. So even if you want to hold on to your consumers, it's a huge challenge. And whether you will be there tomorrow or not is also another huge challenge. As I speak to you, my wife, who works for Nielsen, there's bloodbath going on there. 5,000 people have been asked to leave. 5,000. And that's exactly what Simon Sinek says you're not supposed to do when there is pressure all around. But we're given in to the shareholder all over. It's a story that is repeating and is having reverberation. Still, there is some change. And people are crying hoarse, saying that go back to your old days. Go back to your old ways. Build those institutions for generations, rather than I will make my fast buck, I will make my company and I will walk away. I'll sell it to somebody. So that's, anyway, I think we have a lot of young people. I don't know, we just generally started pontificating about something.
Well, that was a beautiful answer. Very, very insightful, in fact. Very insightful. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. And before we move to next question, I would like to invite Prasad Rajgopalan. Prasad Rajgopalan is the founder of Stories for Training, and he's also a lead filmmaker. I can vouch for his skills because I have made a lot of films for my agency through him. And Prasad, tell us little about, quickly about Stories for Training, what you do, and what does this platform, how it will help for storytelling and storytellers.
Okay, thank you, Kiran, and you have been a great host. Stories for Training is a OTT channel for presenters. So today there are two kinds of entertainment groups. One is called the OTT channel. Now you have Netflix, you have Amazon Prime, you have Hotstar. where the information is sent to you through internet, and then you have DTH channels called Tata Sky, where the information is coming via satellite signals. So Stories for Training is a OTT channel, and like it has a library of 90-second story-based inspiring videos, animated videos. So if any presenter wants to include a story in his presentation, all he has to do is select, play, and engage. And it's like, see, today the most used equipment is a remote control in your house. It is very functional. So whatever you want to do, you just use a remote control. You select, you press the button, and the thing happens. Similarly, Stories for Training is a remote control. Like if you want to include a story video in your presentation, you just select, play, and engage. Okay, so this is the platform called Stories for Training. As you all can see, it has a library of 90-second story-based videos. And we have 3 categories. So we have stories for presentation, for value education. So a lot of teachers who have joined today, they can use this stories to imbibe value education to their students. And there is a special series called Bollywood Se Seeko. And all these are 90-second stories. So let me play one.
When a group of people are dining in a restaurant, a cockroach lands on their table. More than the problem, it's the reaction to the problem that creates chaos in life.
So this story was based on Sundar Pichai's famous cockroach theory.
The thing that what we do is not something that's not there out there in the open. It is there, but the sense is the rigor that we try and bring in before the story is finally formed. As I said, that we have a lot of people now who are kind of story writers for us, who are content writers, people working in areas like Rishikesh and Muzaffarnagar and places like that, Kathmandu, and sitting there and writing one excellent. We are like, one of the projects that we are doing is with an organization called Room to Read, which is which is a 32 episode radio serial for each of 15 minutes each. So it's about 450 minutes worth of content of 2 girls, Chulbuli and Bulbuli. Now these girls, but the whole idea behind this product of creating this radio program is to ensure that the girl child is not under any pressure in rural, urban, semi-urban areas. Because of COVID, the first casualty is going to be the girl child. Huge amount of work has been done to ensure that the girl child and other children as well in the village go to study. The midday meal was a wonderful thing. We have done a lot of work on midday meal. And if I could have shared all the films that we've done here on midday meal, on right to education, etc. But because of COVID situation, the pressure is back on the girl child. She should not study. She should work at home, stuff like that. She should go and, till the soil with her father and mother, etc. Well, the boy can study. The boy has to study. So this Chulbuli and Bulbuli are two sisters, and they are working. So the projects that are coming to us, we've done one 4-minute film on a contraceptive pill called Muri. Now Muri was completely a pill which was positioned against emergency contraception. So we thought of how to write a story for that, and it was a full journey. And we went about 6 hours from Chandigarh in the cold of winter, below 0 degrees centigrade freezing point, with our band of actors. And the whole story was about this husband and wife coming down from the hills towards Delhi and getting stuck on the road because there is a landfall. And obviously they have had, they made love before they left the hotel. And when they were now they are stuck there for 72 hours. There are no chemists anywhere. Where will they get their emergency contraception? It's a 4-minute film. There are buses. In the bus, there are people who are sitting there, trucks, there's that, everything. And there's a fight between the husband and the wife, saying that how can you be so irresponsible? And he said, as if I knew that there would be the roads will be closed. Okay. And it was a complete, and it was completely done for the, the women on NCR and other urban centers of India. And the whole message was why you should not use oral contraceptive. We made a Facebook page. So for us, brands with purpose becomes very important. In fact, myself and my partner Urvashi Guha, who works out of, and I should have invited her for this if I had known that this is such a wonderful platform. And we go to many colleges to take workshops on brands with purpose. We go to management schools like MICA, Mudras of Communication, Ahmedabad. We go to, this college in Pune, very famous college. Symbiosis. And we talk to them about brands with purpose. We say that brands only can exist if there is purpose. And we developed ourselves slowly and steadily. And there are these 7 buckets of stories. So this is not a rule of the game. There are these 7 buckets. And these buckets are there. I mean, if you want to, anybody who wants to be a storyteller, I don't want to put them into any fixed kind of a thinking. I always go back to my partner, and my partner would say, why are you talking like this? Stories can be anything. It's the white, blue, open sky. And I agree. And I fully agree. But for the matter of, if you need a structure, if you ever need a structure, there are these 7 structures which people generally talk of. And if you go and talk to any Westerner, he will love you for that because they love structure. The other day I was talking to my brothers who are soccer crazy. There are battles in my cousin. We have a group called Hangla Cousins. Hangla means you are when you are dying for good food. So it's called Hangla Cousins. We're all dying for good food. And there, the brothers fight on East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. People don't know both the clubs are dying. So the other day we were talking about Gegenpress. Liverpool won the trophy EPL of 30 years because Klopp, who is their coach, used a technique called Gegenpress. Now there is Gegenpress, there is tiki-taka, there is 4-3-2, there is 3-4-1, blah, blah, blah. But when you have to enjoy a game of soccer, and we were talking, you have to see the Latinos play. They just get a ball and then they conjure magic. But when you take the game to Europe, then it gets into structure. Gegenpress is one, tiki-taka is the other, and they make soccer look like a class in geometry. So for that structure, if we have to have structure, there are these 7 structures. One is called overcoming the monster. Most advertising works in that area. You overcome the monster. Yeah. And then there is this rags to riches. There's a second bucket, which is called the rags to riches. The third is you go on a voyage and you return. And this is not the forum in which I can really talk about, all these things. Then there is the quest, the adventure. That's another class of storytelling. Then there is comedy, we all know about. Then there is tragedy, we all know about. And then there is rebirth. Rebirth, basically, if I have to say, rebirth is like all the cosmetics. Yesterday I was getting angry. I was seeing an ad by Vinny Labs on a product called White Tone. So White Tone, the whole concept is rebirth. You put this thing on your face and you'll get white like a ghost or whatever. So that's rebirth, And then there is tragedy. Tragedy, typically it is like you got to show. We have not used it ever, but you can. You can show a person making a wrong choice and then suffering for it, and therefore everyone else getting a kind of a thing that we shouldn't go through that path. Comedy is, of course, used quite a bit as light-hearted stuff. We did one for Pfizer called Gelusil, where there was a doctor and a dadi, and the doctor and the dadi were always fighting against each other. Dadi was for home remedies, and doctor was always for the scientific Gelusil, and they were having these little battles with the people. People will come and say, we're having acidity. Dadi will say, have Nibu, and then they take Nibu Sharbat, and the acidity doesn't go, and then they are still doing something. The doctor says, don't listen to this lady, take this Gelusil, scientific formula. Then Dadi has acidity, and she doesn't trust her home remedies. So you can use comedy like that. And then, of course, there is the Muri story that I said about. It's about the quest. The Muri story that I said about these two husband and wife coming down from the hills, and they are always dependent on emergency contraception. And so what happens is that, if I have to move ahead from this, is that these are a mixture. Sometimes you are using one story type from the other, but it pays to know that there are 7 buckets. When we say things like slaying the monster. So we were working on, the very challenging, the government of India and our Prime Minister, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So the UNICEF has said that world will be TB free by 2030. That's the goal. 202 nations have signed to this declaration. And our Prime Minister Modi said that no, India will do it in 2025. Now there are 18 organizations which work with the government of India. USAID is one. And they were given the responsibility that please tackle stigma. Now, if I happen to say in this group, if this whole group would have been in a conference room, say that I am suffering from tuberculosis, I'll be the only person left in that room in the jiff of an eye. And the problem with TB is stigma. So what happens? People don't complete their therapy. People, the XDR TB, it's extreme drug resistant TB. Okay, multi-drug resistant TB. People are dying because they are not completing their course. They are not, and the othering that we do. So how do you slay the monster? We worked with a good filmmaker called Buddy. Now Buddy has made films, feature films, and we sat with him and we said, look, we got this story of a father and a son who have sent off their, and we came to this whole thing called the inner circle, the family, the loved ones who are the first to other the TB sufferer. And we said, they are the positive deviants of the behavior change communication. We want to get a behavior change in the whole nation, in the whole community. And we wrote a story about this father and son who have sent their wife and mother to her home because she's suffering from tuberculosis. And how the father gets his wife back home, and how things, and they say that no, she can be here, and we have to take care of her if she has to, and that is there in the Government of India website. You can go watch it. So that's about slaying the. So what we do is that we kind of sit and we use these tools of behavior change communication. We do design thinking. We are believers of a person by the name of Daniel Kahneman, who was a behavioral economist and got a Nobel Prize, and who was the first to change the whole model of thinking. We all thought that humans think, then they do, and then they feel. So we are very intelligent people, we rationalize. He turned the model on its head. He said it is feel, do, think. Most of the time we react. 99% of the time emotional. We are emotional beings who can think. We feel first. So we have a system, one system to thinking. So we first do what will actually bring alive the emotions. How will you bring alive the emotions? So we do we trouble ourselves with the question called why. We trouble our clients with the question called why. Why are you doing what you are going to do? First answer. It's called the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. So all these truisms then come together, the 7 buckets, and then you suddenly have a story, which basically the 3 C's are character, context, and climax. It's a broad thing that happens when you actually build a story. And then obviously everybody comes in and there is a Facebook page, live, this, that, everything happens today because it's a media neutral, it's a media neutral world. You got to make sense in your customer may be in TikTok, your customer may be in Mitra, your customer may be in Instagram or LinkedIn or anywhere, or maybe just reading a newspaper on a smartphone. And you got to converse. You got to put content and you got to converse. And what we do when we go to our clients, and obviously we test it ourselves first, is that we speak about 5 things to our clients, saying that, look, we did everything for you. We have shown you our way, how we've thought. We think that this is 2 or 3 baskets. We talk about all these things. And then we give them 5 things by which to evaluate us. The first thing we ask them, and we leave them with this thought, we say, don't evaluate us right now. Think about it. And we say the first thing is that, do you think our story will respect the customer, the consumer? It is always the consumer. It is never the shareholder. It is always the consumer. Whom are you selling to? For us in advertising, it was never WPP. It is never Publicis. It was never Omnicom. It was our clients. It was Abbott. It was always our client. But our interest went somewhere else because of WPP and everything. Our internal, Excel sheets, we went there. But it has to be the consumer always. The focus has to be the consumer. So we said, do you think we are honoring the customer? We are respecting them. Do you think they will think that we are truthful and we are not hiding? So that's the first thing we say. Please evaluate us. Do you think it was memorable? How do you grade it in the area of memorability? Was it intriguing? Will they ask for more? The third thing we said is that, will it create a desire? Will it create a desire? And then we ask, will it create conversations? What do you think? Does it have in it something which will create conversations? People will come in and they'll start talking. We have had such experiences with our clients, and they were like, they just want to stand up and kiss us. They want to clap. They don't want to let us go, leave their offices, because most of the time they don't even know how to evaluate us. Our industry has no standards. Okay. And we are not willing to be evaluated. We don't want to be evaluated. We don't want to be partners in our client's progress. We don't want to say, okay, my compensation is your profits. We don't have the courage. Anyway, so this was the thing, the 7 buckets and the 5 steps on which we evaluate ourselves. We go to our clients, and that's what we're doing currently.
Great. When you're talking about consumer, I just remembered the conversation with, I hope Deep is watching this. We used to say that what is strategy? Strategy is a consumer voice.
Yeah.
So,
Deep was one of the persons who converted us. Who was
actually.
Yeah. He was the guy who was like our guru. If you remember Deep Bisen, and how he kind of he was always there for us. All fights, battles that we fought in our on those days. I mean, I'll never forget.
The agency behind the graveyard.
The agency behind the graveyard was Deep, yeah. And the way he used to go and snatch cigarettes from most people. I never smoked. And there goes Deep now for another sutta. And his mind will start twirling and swirling, and it was such a pleasure just to be with him.
Absolutely.
And building those campaigns, those magic on those days, and those were different days, and yeah.
Absolutely. So what I'm getting an idea, last week we interviewed Ashish, this week we interviewed you, and I know fabulous speakers, they are in row, okay? And one, after say month or 2, I have an idea now that I'm going to create, marathon storytelling day, where you all guys will come and just talk stories, and it will be a marathon. And you Bongs, Marathas, Punjabis, all storytellers, they will come and battle. Okay, that's my dream, which I just had now. And now it's time to move to question answers. Ashish, you have any question, or Krish, you have any question? You may ask. And I apologize. We have overshot by 6 minutes, but I think that those who are enjoying this session, they should remain, and we will continue with this session.
No, it's
So Mitra, you can be little brief and short for each question, because and others, they can put their questions in chat box, so I can moderate them.
Yeah, Kiran, I think it's quite natural. I mean, nostalgic, old times, pristine stories, overshot by only how many minutes? 6 minutes. It's nothing, in fact. So, Rita, thank you very much for those fascinating stories. One question which I had, it just came to my mind right now, because my buying behavior and my son's buying behavior is entirely different. Because I would always like to go to the showroom and feel a shirt or touch a perfume or smell it and then buy, and me and my wife at the same time. This guy's buying habit is going into eBay or going into Amazon, and so how do you actually, describe this change which has come, and what would be the role of storytelling hence? Do they really value storytelling, or they only see the content and the feedback of the peers to go for a purchase? And what do you think?
So they are basically, obviously there's a lot of conversation in the media about Gen Z and Gen Y. People who are Gen Y and Gen Z, they're more or less born in the digital world.
Yeah.
Going back to Thomas Friedman again, the Pulitzer Prize winner writer, at 65. Ashish, you and me, we're in the same bandwagon. So we have lived through those days when, we used to still write. So I still have a pen here. If anybody asks me a question and I can't answer, I will write.
I do the same.
So, but these young people, they're made of different, metal. They have lived with, they were born with. I see a lot of children today. They're studying on the iPad, and COVID has brought that change. They know how to keep the phone off. They know exactly where to put their hand. I have a nephew, where to put their hand so that the teachers don't see that he's sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't think we had that abilities ever. With all these things. I remember I went to Madison one day in the morning. I was given a car. Those days, companies used to give cars. So I was given a red Maruti 800 to drive.
Wow.
And the third day, there's a new car. Third day, the car, I was going like this to see a movie with my wife, and I had to pick up my wife from somewhere. It was a good romantic date. And another car came and it hit from this side. And the car had a wonderful dent. So I used to go and park the car in such a way. I was scared to tell Sam or Prabha that I have done this to the car. So I used to turn the car and keep at a place where they will not see that. And my scooter was with Kiran. So, so anyway, and I went one day like that, and I quietly moved into and there was a wonderful office that Madison had those days. And we went there, and there was this computer on my desk. I was like, who kept it? And I used to, and those days, we were used to this cabin. And the secretary will come and say, sir, the tea, and nice tea used to come, and used to drink and feel, we have come to office. First of all, we are kings. We have come to office. We've managed coming to office. For 3 days, I didn't touch that beast. For 3 days, I'm just thinking what to do with it. I came home and I said, what Sam has done? He has put one computer.
Desktop.
They want desktop computer. So there was a guy called Farhad who is now in Sydney. He had done his MBA from Australia. He knew. Mm-hmm. So I said, he was my account manager. I said, Farhad, do you know what this? He's a computer. I said, how does one on it? This computer is just there like that for the last 3 days. Well, you don't know how to on it. I said, no. So he bent down. There was that machine those days. And he pressed the button. This is 1999, 98, 99. And when I walk into Euro RSCG in 2000, I'm given a laptop. And I'm already typing emailers. And I'm sending emailers to a person by the name of Mark Goldstone, who is also working in Euro RSCG. And we meet up in 2010 because he's global head of DDB, and I'm reporting to him. And I tell him, do you remember I used to send you mails in the year 2000? He said, yeah, I know. So you are the same Sumitro sent from Mumbai. I said, yeah. So that's how life changed. And I told you how life changed between 2006, 2007, 2008.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we are facing the ramifications of those today. For the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs, it's hardly a problem. They live with it. So
No,
they
because-
consume stories and conversations. Look at the way TikTok. There is a place in Thane called the Pipe Road. Even during COVID times, every day in the morning, I just take one car and I drive to that place. And it's a 2.5 kilometer straight road. It's a beautiful place in Thane. Very few people know about it. And in the morning, there is nobody because no traffic is allowed on that road. And because of COVID, there's hardly anyone. It's green everywhere. Both sides, there is one day, one auto comes and stands. There were 3 girls and 1 boy out there in the auto. I parked the car and I'm watching what have they come for? You know, an old man wanting to be fishy. Everything looks fishy in your eyes. And what they did, they took out a stand, they put and they started dancing. They started dancing. I'm like, what the hell is going on? TikTok. Obviously, now it is 5, 6, 7, we are copycats. But TikTok is a craze. There is a guy called a 17-year-old guy from Bhutan called Ali. He earned 8 crores last year on TikTok. Being a social media influencer. So they are themselves making stories now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They themselves make stories. One person is walking, somebody will come and hit him from this side, like this. He will look like this, and he will see 2 dogs walking. That is TikTok video. Story. This is a story.
Very true. Very true.
They are the creators of story. And now
Lovely.
it is so democratic. It is so democratic that, you cannot ever say that I am going to create the story. Like anybody who is there out there with Zoom and with this kind of a phone can create a story and become a filmmaker and do whatever. So
Absolutely.
that's exactly what Thomas Friedman says in The World is Flat, that the old people had never prepared ourselves for that kind of democratization. And that's why we see autocracy all over, because the baby boomers that we have only learned autocracy from the silent generation.
Yeah, true. Very true. And it's time that we really get out of it.
The young people will force us to anyway. They are the ones, So
Force us or coax us to come out of
The
it.
coax to come, or we'll go away and they will take over and then we'll see what happens.